Control, energy efficient control of quadrotor using deep neural networks. That was done by me and my collaborators, Gajendra Nagar and Indranil Sahaj at Kanpur. So let's go through the outline. We have a problem statement that given positions in 3D space, we need to synthesize a controller that can track this trajectory with the most minimal error. So, in short, we're trying to synthesize a controller for a given trajectory. This is the F450 quadrotor that we used. The quadrotor is basically a non-linear dynamical system with 6 degrees of freedom. The state space of quadrotor consists of 3 position variables, x, y, z, the orientation defined in Euler angles, the roll, pitch, yaw, the first derivative of the positions, and the first derivative of the Euler angles called the angular velocity or rates. So in total, this quadrotor is a 12-dimensional state vector. The controller for a quadrotor is generally is divided into 2 parts: the high-level controller and the low-level controller. This cascaded architecture is based on the open source PX4 autopilot. So the high-level controller, what it does, it takes the position or the XYZ coordinates, the trajectory as an input, and outputs the roll, pitch, yaw rate, and thrust that needs to be maintained to follow the trajectory, the positions. And the low-level controller takes an input as the roll, pitch, yaw rate, and thrust that are the outputs of the high-level controller, and converts them into the angular speeds of the propellers. So this is a feedback controller. So every controller is getting a feedback loop. The low-level controllers generally have to run at a very high speed because they control the rotor speeds, so they have to be very responsive. You cannot have a controller that takes a lot of time to compute the controls. Generally, we use PID controller at this low level, and they run at approximately 250 Hz is the normal rate at which these low-level controllers run. But for the high-level controller, we can have some optimal controllers like model predictive controller, LQR, PID, and the rate is, there is no restriction on rate. We have tested it for 10 Hz to 100 Hz, they are fine with it. So high-level controllers, we can have optimality here. And they can be generally implemented on an on-board computer also. The low-level controller are generally on the hardware of the autopilot. So it's in short like the PID is defined by the 3 constants: proportional, integral, and derivative. They are generally calculated by tuning or by tweaking the system, by perturbing the system and measuring how much the system has changed. The model predictive control is an optimization-based control. So we solve an optimization problem where we check what's the error between our current state and the reference state. This optimization problem is constrained on the dynamics of the system, and we can have bounds on the control input. So the problem with MPC is that if the system is non-linear, like as in the case of quadrotor, this becomes a non-linear optimization problem, which is quite difficult to solve. So the MPCs are again solving non-linear optimization at every instant is itself a big difficult task. So when you compute that in the PIDs and MPC are 2 ends, opposite ends of the spectrum. The PID controllers, they are low cost because they involve simple arithmetic, multiplication and addition. They can be implemented on low-end microcontrollers, but MPC generally requires solver to be implemented to solve the non-linear optimization problem. The good thing with MPC is that they take into account the model of the system, so they are quite optimal. But PID are generally obtained for tuning and all, so you cannot say that they are an optimization-based controller. So we need a controller that can take best of the both worlds, that has low computational cost, that takes into account the model of the system. It can take the non-linearity into account. So we come up with deep neural networks are best candidates for them. So now if we have a neural network, we need to the neural network as a controller at high level. So we are talking about the high level controller. The neural network will take the position, the state, and the reference state as an input. So what we do is we give this neural network the difference between the position, the velocities, Euler angles, and rates. And as a high level controller, the DNN should output roll, pitch, yaw rate, and thrust. That's the output of the high level controller. So in short, we are instead of an MPC, we are using DNN as a high level controller in the automatic. So now to train this network, we need some data, like some training techniques. So we use supervised learning. There are other learnings like reinforcement based learning or unsupervised, but unsupervised is not suited for this. So we go with supervised. Reinforcement learning is pretty much difficult to convert. So the problem with supervised learning is that we need label data. So we can generate our label data through MPC. But the problem with this is that we need to fly a quadrotor manually to cover the whole arena to get a generalized data so that the network can generalize the controller from the data. So flying this is very expensive because these quadrotors have a very small battery and their flight time is very less. So what we come up with, we create a simulation model of the quadrotor. Now, if we to match the simulation model with the real world quadrotor, what we do is we try to match the transfer function of both the models. So the transfer function is nothing but the ratio of the output to the input. So if we are able to match the transfer function of real world and simulated quadcopter, then the data that's generated in simulation will be sufficient to be the controller learned from that data is sufficient to be implemented on the real world quadcopter because they are behaving in a similar manner. So to learn this transfer function, what we do is we manually fly this quadrotor with joysticks, and we record the data through ROSBAX. And then for the simulation world quadcopter, what we do, we tune the time constants and gains. Basically, these are the low-level dynamics that define how the quadcopter will behave on providing an input. So the gains they capture the roll gains, and the pitch gain they capture the responsiveness of the system, and the time constants they capture the property that how much time it will take to follow the applied controls. So we tune these gains such that the transfer function that we learn from the real quadcopter is matched by the simulation quadcopter. So this is our whole setup. We have a ground control station that passes reference trajectory to the onboard computer. And there's an autopilot PX4 that provides output to the motors. There's a Bicon system that provides the audiometric feedback. So this is the performance, the simulation that we did. The transfer function in the roll angle and pitch angle tracking of real and quadcopter are quite similar. The difference between the dotted line and the blue line that refers like how much time the quadrotor took to follow that input. They are quite similar. After tuning, we get these. So we evaluate our results based on three trajectories: square shape, where we can independently measure the performance of roll pitch; infinity shape, in this trajectory we can see that our network is able to achieve this both of them together, and we have step inputs. So this is the performance of DNN and MPC. They are quite able to track the trajectory in a similar manner. Step input, the trajectory is quite similar with MPC. These are the controls that are generated by DNN and MPC. The state cost of DNN and MPC is quite closer to each other, and the control cost of DNN is quite surprisingly low than MPC because it's we are doing regression, so it's trying to do curve fitting on those MPC controls. As you can see, the flight time of the quadrotors can increase from 8 to 12% if we implement a DNN. That's one of the reasons is because when we check the CPU usage of this ARM Cortex A7 processor, MPC was utilizing a very high percentage, DNN required a very low because MPC is running a solver at every instant. And you were able to. test these results. It's quite stable, the DNA and MPC. The motion of the DNA is quite smoother than MPC. MPC has like sort of peaks, but DNA is smoother. So here, both of the controllers are able to track this trajectory simultaneously. So, yeah.
So the smoothness of DNA, where do you think it comes from? The smoothness, you said that it's...
Yeah, I think it's because if you see that MPC is, I mean, every time it's giving this noise, it considers this as noisy data. You can see from this graph that these green lines are noise, and what this DNA, while training, what we try to do is we try to fit a curve, right? So curve fitting might be the reason, should be the reason that the smoothness is coming in the DNA instead of in place of MPC. As you can see in the curve, that the blue line is much smoother than this green one, so that's the training process must be the reason.
Is the DNA trying to mimic the MPC control?
Yeah, it's a supervised learning based control, so it's maybe the...
So if I can mimic the MPC 100% correctly, then it will supposed to give the same performance with the MPC. So how come I'm trying to mimic something and it's giving a better performance?
No, it's not, the state cost is not better. I'm saying about the controls. So so MPC, what it does, the tracking is not better than MPC. DNA is closer to MPC, but it's not better than MPC. But the controls, so if you look at the control cost, the way we calculate the control cost is the norm, L2 norm of the controls. So that's lower because of this. You cannot claim that it's better than MPC. This comparison is not about being better or worse. It's about being responsiveness. Or you can say that MPC is more responsive than DNA. In the other way, that if it's smooth, it means that DNA is not that responsive. So it's the comparison is not at all about performance.
Do you have any guarantees when you fly trajectories that have not been trained? So what do you expect that will happen? Could it be that
So all these trajectories that I showed, they were not shown to the quadrometer while training. While training, we just gave points, set points to reach. We did not give any trajectory while training, so it's able to compute generalized over the trajectories also. So while training, we did not give any trajectory.
How much data did you gather to train the network?
It's like 100,000 data points in simulation. So basically, that's the big positive, that we don't have to fly the quadrometer manually. 100,000 data points were enough with 2 layers of 64 neurons per layer. That was.
Is the computing done on board or off board? For the
computing on board.
Oh, okay. I think we have to move on. So let's break that. Thanks for